to prospective study permit visa applicants, this information is very critical and very crucial for the Minister for Immigration for Canada, Mark Miller, has held a press conference. Now, in this press conference, he has outlined some changes that he thinks he needs to do when it comes to study permit visa applications, and this is going to have an immense effect on international students' applications. He has detected certain things in the application process that he thinks is not right and is negatively affecting international students, and he thinks that the country Canada needs to do something about it. And so he has hinted on some of the reforms that he's going to introduce, which is going to take effect from this year, ending of this year. So to prospective study permit visa applicants, this information is very critical and very crucial for you. Before I go into discussing whatever he said, I want you to watch and listen to the press conference for yourself. Okay, so let's listen to this.
I'm here today to provide you with an update on our work regarding the review of the International Student Program and some of the reforms that we'll be implementing as a result. I'm here today to provide you with an update on our work regarding the review of the International Student Program and some of the reforms that we'll be implementing as a result. As you're likely aware, the use of fraudulent admissions letters has been a major concern for my department this year and continues to pose a serious threat to the integrity of our student program. I want to stress this point. International students are not the problem. They come here with hopes and dreams, and they are essential to building this country and the future and the ambition that we set ourselves for a country. I've met with a number of international students today, Puneet, for example, who spoke so eloquently about the precarious position that she's faced in her journey to permanent residency and the anxiety and fear that that's created. That is magnified when we have a system that has lost its integrity and is subject to, at sometimes, some of the worst aspects of fraud. Starting by the end of the year, we're taking steps to prevent this type of fraud by introducing an enhanced system of actually verifying the letters of acceptance directly with post-secondary institutions for all overseas study permit applications. Canada is a major destination and a top destination for international students, thanks to our open, welcoming communities and high-quality educational institutions. Between January and August of this year, we've received over 608,000 study permit requests while processing over 600,000 of these in the same period. International students, as I mentioned, bring a lot to Canada, benefiting campus life and Canada's multicultural spirit in communities across the country. By being open to international students, we benefit from new ideas, ways of learning, and researching coming into our post-secondary system. And clearly, this movement of students to Canada brings with it significant economic advantages as well, with international students contributing well over $20 billion to our GDP annually. The issue of letter of acceptance fraud really came to the forefront earlier this year. Immigration, Refugee, Citizenship Canada and Canada Border Services Agency investigations were already underway when in June, fraudulent letters of admissions were reported. The investigation identified nearly 1,550 study permits applications initially connected to fraudulent letters. In most of those cases, the fraud was detected and the application was refused. In approximately 450 of the remaining cases, fraud wasn't identified during the processing and study permits were issued. In some cases, people have shown up at the doorsteps of institutions to find out that their hope has been dashed. When media reports surfaced, a number of international students came forward as victims, not participants in the submission of the fraudulent documents. And I'd also say that because of the precarious nature of some international students, there is a hesitancy to come forward. And that only magnifies the fact that this could very well be the tip of the iceberg. To ensure that genuine students were supported, an Ircc task force was struck to review the facts of cases for individuals once the Immigration and Refugee Board had completed its proceedings. pour identifier les étudiants qui sont des étudiants dans leur dossier de candidature. Of the approximately 450 cases, there were 285 of interest to the task force, and as of mid-October, the Ircc task force had reviewed 103 cases and determined that 63 students were genuine students. In 40 of these cases, these individuals were found not to be genuine students. For those students found to be genuine students, 30 were issued temporary resident visas. Most of the remaining cases are still before the IRB, and the task force will intervene where appropriate once adjudicative processes are concluded. As we continue to review the international student program, I can also confirm that we'll move ahead with a new recognized institution framework. We've been actively engaged with stakeholders, including Sheridan College, post-secondary education associations, and learning institutions on this concept, and we'll continue to refine it. We plan to implement the recognized institution framework in time for the fall semester of 2024. The framework would recognize those institutions whose international students benefit from top-class services, housing, and other supports. Our goal here is to punish the bad actors, make sure that they are held accountable, and reward the good actors who provide adequate outcomes for the success of the international students. Such institutions that are recognized could benefit from, for example, faster student permit application processing destined for the students destined to their school. And as we move towards implementing it next year, additional details will be shared to fully explain how institutions would become recognized and what benefits.
So if you've watched the video up to this point, thank you very much for sticking around till now. So the implication is that now the Canadian government and Ircc has been able to detect that there are so many people who come into Canada as international students but with fake admission letters. And if you listened to the press conference very well, you realize the numbers that he was quoting. So many changes that he announced may have positive effect for some people and also negatively affect others, but whichever way is going to serve as a caution for you whilst you are putting in your visa application. This caution, this policy that he wants to put in place is going to take effect from next year, so from January 2024. No, it's actually going to take effect from the end of this year. So what this means is that during the process of your visa application, now the Canadian government, Ircc, can detect that your letter of acceptance is either genuine, original, or fake. And if it is fake, it means that your visa application is going to be denied. And as if that is not enough, when you are caught with a fake admission letter, your visa will not just be denied. You are also going to receive a ban on your, there's going to be a ban issued out to you. If you get a 5 years ban, what it means is that for the next 5 years, you cannot travel to Canada. You cannot apply for any visa to Canada. And mind you, if the Canadian government puts a ban on you, it also has rippling effects in other places, like the US, for instance. You understand? So if you are not doing the application yourself and you are using an agent, please be vigilant, be extra vigilant, and make sure that the school the agent is looking for you, is applying for you, it's a genuine one. You know, it doesn't matter how long it takes. Even if Ircc doesn't determine it and your visa gets approved and you arrive in Canada, you are going to bear the consequence of it eventually. There are so many genuine schools in Canada, so many. So I don't know why you would want, you will go to an agent who will get for you a letter of acceptance through a fraudulent means. But sometimes some of us are not patient. Somebody can give you a call in November and tell you that, oh, I want to come to school and start in January. How is that possible? And then when you tell that person that no, in November there's no way you can get an admission that is going to start in January. Genuinely, all the schools have closed the admissions for January admissions unless September. And the person thinks that from November to the next year, September, is such a long way to go. It's such a long time that they can't wait. And then like, okay, there's this person who says that he can get the admission for me. I was like, Sometimes we need to be patient. Traveling out to any part of the world to study, it's not a process you just get up one day and say I want to do it today and the next day you are there. It is a process that needs planning, calculation, making sure that everything falls in place. You get the right information, do your own research, apply to a good school so that when you finally arrive in Canada, life will be much easier for you. Anyway, so this brings us to the end of the video. My caution is that be careful when applying for a school. Make sure, do your own research. Go to the Ircc website and look for the schools that are recognized. Look for designated learning institutions. Look for institutions that do not just have DLI, but also have postgraduate work permits. There are hundreds and thousands of them. Don't get tired of applying. Apply to as many schools as possible. Anya Shekra, and if for nothing, one of them will respond to you. Take your time. Be patient with yourself. Give yourself time. This is a dream you want to achieve. It is not a dream you achieve within a week or within some few months. So give yourself time to build this dream and make it come into reality in a positive way. Make it come to reality through a good means.